This episode of Obscure Chatter is brought to you by protesting. Protesting. They're the reason we have a fuck ton of the rights we do, you silly billies. And now, on to the episode. Welcome to another episode of Obscure Chatter. I am your host, Terri Doty. If this is your first time listening, welcome. And if it isn't, welcome back. For those who aren't new, we are, once again, in the living room. Different placement. Kind of the traditional placement when we're in the living room. And for those that are new, sometimes we record in the living room because it's too freaking hot. You may or may not know this, but I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas. Yes, it is horrible. And in addition to it just generally being horrible, the weather's not great. So we do what we can. We do what we can to not die in a booth of something avoidable. My booth doesn't have good ventilation, so here we are. And even then, when a booth does have good ventilation, if you lock yourself in there for more than a few minutes, it's going to get sweaty in the not fun, sweaty way. So here we are. And was the sponsor of today's episode like too subtle? I don't know. On June 14th, I posted a lot in between doing, some walking around downtown, all that, But on one of my posts that I made, someone who has been following me for a while decided to say, protest all you want, nothing's going to change. And I just don't have room for that anymore. Like, I don't understand people that are like, oh, look, she's deleting comments or whatever. Like, yeah, if it's a shit comment, I'm going to delete it. And that was a shit take and a shit comment. So I deleted it and I blocked you and I don't care. But I know that we're big fans of I want it all and I want it now, but that's just not how protests work. They're not an instant win or lose type of thing. Winter might not be coming thanks to climate change, but change is, you sons of loving mothers. Like June 14th wasn't just like a speck in the ocean. It was a spark, a force. It was over 13 million people saying, fuck that, fuck this, fuck you, and your fragile fucking egos. Protesting is power, baby. Like, somebody got really in his feelings about people not celebrating their birthday, which we can talk about another time, but it has been interesting for people that I went to school with, being like, this all seems so familiar with some of the stuff that's happened over the past few days. I am currently recording on June 22nd. I give myself a few days to post the episode. So, that being said, there's been a lot of stuff in the news because there's always a bunch of stuff in the news. I know it's exhausting. But I'm a millennial. And so fellow millennials that I went to high school with and everything, it's so funny for us to be like just messaging each other back and forth. Some in group chats, some just personal back and forth DMs being like, I feel like we've done this before. Some of you guys might not remember what a rerun is, but this definitely feels like one of those things. Not the best rerun, but here we are. Oh my gosh. Okay. So moving on for now, anyway, happy anniversary. So I don't know if you guys got me anything, but wait, what do you mean? What anniversary? Are you saying you forgot? Wow. I slaved away for a good chunk of the day in the kitchen to make you a special meal we could share, that we could celebrate. The most unbelievable part of that is that I actually made y'all a meal because I am famously not a cook. I'm a hell of a good orderer, though. Anyways, happy anniversary, Obscure Chatter. 6 years. This month marks 6 years of Obscure Chatter. And I am going to be real. I believe I've mentioned this before, but the pilot episode is not what is technically episode 1. The pilot episode I actually recorded 2 months before the premiere of Obscure Chatter, and a bunch of life shit happened in between the pilot, which I was always planning to do. And for a second there, even after some major shit went down, I considered still posting it as is, but it was too much of a sore spot for me. So we redid it. We redid the episode. Like a lot of pilots, like the pilot typically isn't the first episode of a show. I really recommend you guys watch pilots for shows. Just, search those up. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is an interesting one. Like, it's a different Willow. I forget what else is different, but it's wild, the little changes. But our first episode premiered when I was in California, actually. I remember lying in bed in my hotel in Burbank and just being really, really nervous when I hit the publish button. I don't know why. Like, it's not like I'd never done podcasting before, but I guess, it's a horse of a different color when you're doing it as a solo host, and you're trying not to make it solely about being in the anime industry and all that. I don't know. But I was nervous. I really was. And I actually think I recorded episode 3 while I was there. It was Steve Yurko's episode. And that is the only episode recorded out of state. I've recorded out of state people remotely, but me, Steve, and Steven was still working for Okratron 5000 at the time. And they had just opened a Okratron West, I believe is the name, which is their booth in Burbank that Steven actually found and built up that booth. He worked really hard putting all that together. And so I decided to capitalize on his hard work by being like, hey, what if I brought my brother from another mother in and we watched a movie and did all that. It was very, very interesting because, we were still getting our sea legs. Steve was our first, I don't want to say real guest, but the second episode is Stephen Hoff, and I feel like Stephen's at a much bigger advantage than, someone who isn't my husband. So Steve, I think, was our first true blue guest, and that was wild to be recording it in kind of an unfamiliar setting and then to go back to Texas and do all that. But as of right now, Steve's is the only out-of-state episode. That might change down the line. Who knows? It might not. Who knows? The show itself has changed a lot over the last 6 years. For those new, trust me on that. Unless you really want to not trust me on that and listen back to the first few episodes, because the initial idea did stem from the idea of doing audio commentary to a movie of the guests' preference, like them giving me one of their top 5 movies to help someone get to know them better. And I will say, some of the movies people sent me, like Natalie's top 5, Natalie Hoover's top 5, I'm like, whoa, I never would have clocked any of these. Or, it was surprising to go through people's, because it did make me want to get to know them better. Being like, hey, why did you pick this movie? And to edit out, we edit out any reference directly of the movie, which one guest, knowing that, intentionally said stuff that he knew Stephen was going to have to edit out. And I will be honest with you, it is unlistenable almost. I won't tell you which one. I'll let you guess. But it's a really hard listen because every 5 seconds it's a beep, 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 beep. I'm like, oh my gosh. Well, I do miss having guests. I don't think I'd return to that format even if I did have guests. I'm still watching something right now But because I've been doing the show so long, 6 years, my top 5 went away a long time ago. So I'm sometimes watching a TV show. Right now I'm watching a movie that Steven hasn't seen, which is why I'm glad he's not in the room, because I've been trying to get him to see this movie. But it's a great flick, short to the point. The trope is typically a trope from the film is typically the title of the show. And there you go. That's your only clue now. We don't do any beeping. We don't do any, mention of that. But if we did have guests come back, we would still watch something, but be like, hey, so we're just watching something to watch something, but don't mention anything on that. And then I will say, like, as far as like, hey, like, why don't you do guests anymore? Like, that is one thing as I've been reviewing that anime show to upload all the episodes. I'm cringing a bit at just the length of the list of guests that we had. We had a fuck ton of guests in the 4 years that we did the show. I mean, I would imagine other podcasts at the time were really envious of our guest list. We had some amazing, amazing guests, but that was a nightmare when it came to booking, having to deal with my schedule, Steven's schedule, Tatum's schedule, and a guest's. It was wild. Obscure Chatter was easier to book with guests, but it still required a level of patience and crossing your fingers that someone was available in the allotted time, all that. And then in the middle of us still finding our sea legs and all that, a global pandemic definitely didn't help, when it came to literally any aspect of life. Yeah. So, we tried the remote thing, which might have worked if we did video almost exclusively, but honestly, I don't see how so many people do that shit, and they make it look like art. The people that do it well. I'm just not one of those people. So as far as video, we upload the episodes with just our banner and audio, and I think that's what we're going to stick to. Also, because right now I am clothed, wearing one of my favorite Ramones shirts and all that stuff. I typically don't want to have to think about how I look when I'm talking major shit to you guys. But I mentioned art earlier. So before I get too carried away with looking at how far we've come, let's talk about media and, what we've consumed in the last month since we last spoke. And we'll start with music. Music's been a great escape. I will say, as far as like people that I'm following right now, Garbage is phenomenal to follow because, one, it's one of my favorite bands, and two, they're so incredibly vocal on their social media. You gotta love it. If you have a platform, you should be using it. And if you aren't, by using it, I mean using it for good, you aren't going to have a fan in me. But yeah. So Garbage is always a go-to. There's Subtronics, Skinny Puppy, 9 Inch Nails, Sneaker Pimps, Muse, 21 Pilots, Beastie Boys a lot lately. Ben Folds 5, Radiohead, Duran Duran, Depeche Mode, Nirvana, Letters to Cleo, TV on the Radio, and Selena, which I've mentioned. Rag and Bone Records. It's in Hearst. The owner is a lovely individual by the name of Heather. And on my birthday in April, I bought a boombox on my birthday, on my actual birthday. Brought it home. I might have mentioned this in a previous episode. Brought it home and it didn't work. And even though Heather didn't do refunds, she did refund us because she really hyped up how much work she had gotten done on this. So cut to 2 months later, Heather actually contacted us and was like, hey, we fixed the boombox. If you're still interested. So it's a dual cassette player and a CD player and a radio. again, millennial, forgive me. I do like, it's nostalgia, but I like it. I wanted a boombox again. I don't know what happened to my old stereo. But anyways, we went. I'm like, holy crap, I can start collecting tapes again, cassettes. And I found 2 very rare Selena Quintanilla. I don't think Selena Gomez has tapes, but that I used to basically annoy the crap out of anybody that maybe wasn't the biggest fan of Selena. I played them so much, but I found them. I paid a lot for them. But yeah, I got a few other tapes, like including, like the wedding album from Duran Duran and oh my God, I forget which Depeche Mode, all this stuff. Like, oh my gosh, so much fun. And it it's like, oh wow, yeah, this is a tape, but I liked it. Like I did a whole thing where I was just drawing some of my ghosts, listening to like, just back-to-back tapes, some Whitney, some Janet, boom, doom, yeah, all good stuff. As far as movies, oh gosh, I did a rewatch of Dogma. Now, I had mentioned this. Dogma was the first time on Fandango that I had a couple of really random warnings. You weren't allowed to be under 18 at all, like even with a parent, which that might not be news to some people. And also there was a big like warning, and I'm guessing that's about the subject matter. But as I'd mentioned previously, I tried to skip school in high school to go see Dogma when it initially came out in 1999. I skipped school with my friend Lindsay, and we went to the Six Flags Mall, which isn't there anymore. And they had already pulled the showings for Dogma by the time we got there. Like in the newspaper, when you called Movie Phone, remember Movie Phone? Maybe it's still a thing. All those show times did show up, but the movie had already been pulled. And if you watch the movie and you're a very intelligent person, you would understand that it's kind of dumb that it got pulled, but whatever. So I'd never seen it in theaters. I really wanted to see it in theaters, but and I was fine with paying the stupid amount that movies cost now. But the showtimes were so strict. I like seeing a movie during the day. Maybe that makes me a little grandma, but I don't like to see movies late at night. And also, when it's during the day, I tend to have a more empty theater. That's my go-to. Because people are still stupid and disgusting, and I don't want to share a room with them for an extended period of time. But I don't know, just the show times were really weird. And then just those warnings, there was something about it. I have Dogma on VHS. So what I did is I rearranged my den, which we call the whatever room. I rearranged all of that. And we kind of had a little movie theater experience just watching Dogma. I hadn't seen it in years, even though I have it on tape. And it was a lot of fun. And just talking to Steven, like here and there, like I was trying to remember. He's like, does Silent Bob only talk here? I'm like, yeah. And then Silent Bob talked again. I'm like, damn it, man, it has been a minute. Because I used to be obsessed with the View Askewniverse. I really did. Did have an unhealthy knowledge. Like I was going to make this pilgrimage to New Jersey to go to, Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, which is the comic book store. And this was before like Comic Book Men and all of that. And I thought I was going to be so clever and like run into like Jason Mewes, and like Kevin Smith in the Wild is so adorably naive. But because of that, I was talking about how Brian O'Halloran, who plays Dante in Clerks, like he's always randomly in the Kevin Smith movies, and his last name is always Hicks, and da-da-da-da-da. And I had mentioned I hadn't seen Clerks 3 yet, but I'd heard some stuff about it. So I did also this month watch Clerks 3. Stephen was just working in the yard, and if you've been with somebody for so long, sometimes you have to ask, like, hey, is this a movie I can watch myself, or do you want to watch this too? And I just assumed Steven didn't want to watch it. Like, and he was like, yeah, you can, like, give me the highlights later. Da, 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 da. And it shocked me because I've known these characters for so long. But at the end, I was inconsolable for like 30 minutes. Steve was actually going in and out, like mowing the lawn and stuff. And so he wasn't really paying attention to me as I was losing my mind with the ending. It's very, very beautiful. A hard ending if you've known these characters for so long. But, and yeah, a little bittersweet. But I think Kevin did a really good job. And I'm really glad that everybody came back the way they did. And it was very meta too. But yeah, if you haven't seen Clerks 3 and you're into the View universe, give it a shot. As far as horror, the big ones, I was a baby in the 80s. I was a 90s kid. I love 80s and 90s horror movies. Those are my go-tos. So I think sometimes I'm kind of an asshole when people are like, oh, have you seen this? And it's like really, really new. Like, I don't really like a lot of CGI, blah, blah, blah. But there are movies that really get me that are relatively new. Two that I did not want to really give any, effort to or try, until, I don't know, they just kind of kept popping up on my timeline and my little feed, are the Smile movies. Smile 1, or just Smile, and Smile 2. They aren't for everybody. But one thing I will say is the viral marketing for these movies is really fucking smart. It was very, very, I was going to say subtle, but not really. I loved them. I talked about Smile like for an unhealthy amount of time. Like Steven and I talked about like just the performances and just da-da-da-da-da. And then Smile 2, it's like, well, what do you do? What do you do after that? And the way it opened, I'm like, oh, shit. And then it just went ba-ba-ba-ba-ba from there. I was one of these annoying people that I would hate to sit next to, but I was like talking to Steve. I'm like, oh, my God, this is probably happening. Oh, my God. And it's watch the fucking movie. Yeah. But, I really liked them. I'm up for watching and learning about newer horror. It's just, I don't do a lot of gore for gore's sake. I really hate sexual violence dressed up as horror. Like, no. I hate Rob Zombie Halloween movies for that exact reason. Oh, in addition to, they're just bad. Don't at me. I don't care. But, I can't do that. I can't do, I am one of those people, like that website is that Does the Dog Die? Like, animals being hurt, it depends on how it's showcased. All that. But Smile and Smile 2, they're different flavors, but I really like them both. I really, really do. But that's it for movies. And then television shows. I finished my rewatch of the Netflix Marvel series Daredevil and I think I finished Daredevil I was going to say Devil Reborn Again. Or is it Born Again? I don't remember. The Disney Plus Daredevil. Really, really good. There are moments where you're like, oh yeah, reshoots happened, didn't they? And some of the stuff, like I could have watched another 10 episodes of stuff. And I do wish that Muse had more screen time. I love the way Muse looked. And also my baby Frank Castle is back. All that stuff. I can't say much more without spoiling anything, but I dug it and I want more. And I know that Jessica Jones is going to be in season 2. So gimme, gimme, gimme. And then another show that I finished with Steven, who had only watched a little bit of it a few years ago. Beast Wars. That was fun to watch over breakfast for a while. We're about to start. I didn't know that there was a series after that. That was, I don't know if it's a continuation or like a retelling, but it happened like right after the Beast Wars finished. So we'll see. Been rewatching the 1960s Outer Limits. I watched the 1995 Pride and Prejudice miniseries, which I had never seen. And I like it more than the 2005 Keira Knightley. Keira Knightley isn't a bad actress to me. Just she's a bit distracting for me sometimes, and I really can't tell you why. But also watching Drag Race All-Stars still. I did finish Doctor Who, which I really hyped up, I think, in my last episode, and the hyping is unhyped. I was very confused by the end of this season. Last week tonight, Daily Show, and caught up on Bob's Burgers. Not a bad TV time. As far as books, I read Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. Grady Hendrix is hit or miss for me. My first book by him was My Best Friend's Exorcism, which I read at the recommendation of my best friend at the time. And because I'm no longer friends with that person, I can't read the book again. You have those things? I know I'm pretty sure I'm not alone here. Sometimes something is tied so much to a person, you know, that it's, and that. But Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, not everybody's cup of tea. You might enjoy it. You might. The Love and Magic series by Pix Pentham. Hey, magic series, different couples in each one. You might enjoy it. Give it a shot. I'd revisit Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, which I felt was fitting. There are some things like Stephen tried to, he'd never read 1984. And he's like, this one's hard to get through. I'm like, I think if you'd read it at a different time when it wasn't very 1984 outside, it might hit differently. Yeah. And I kind of felt that way about the reread of Fahrenheit 451. I'm like, I don't remember it hitting the way it, granted, I read it as a teenager. Reading it now, oof. But I also read My Kind of Trouble by L.A. Schwartz. Harriet Tubman live in concert by Bob the Drag Queen. Really, really, really good. Our Migrant Souls by Hector Tobar. Penelope's Bones by Emily Hauser. The Blonde Identity by Allie Carter. The Key to My Heart by Leah Lewis. And I'm currently reading, by the time this airs, I'm like, God, what if I hated it? But I'm really loving it right now. And taking my sweet ass time reading it, is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.A. Schwab, or not V.A., V.E. Schwab, Victoria Schwab. I forget why she interchanges those so much, but yeah, that's it. I didn't realize how much I'd read until I really thought about it for this episode. Like, damn. So, we said that you are complicit in this. Before we hopped into media, I was like, okay, maybe I'll let some of that stuff go. Talking about blocking people, protesting. It's like, I got some comments, sure, that I deleted, because if it's something I don't dig, I delete comments. I don't know how that's like such a like wild take. But I have gotten a lot of messages in the past couple weeks, and that probably has something to do with like the stories I share, the comments, the artwork I make. My ghosts are the big one. I wasn't planning on really doing much with them other than sharing them, and then I decided to start making more stuff that's directly catered to, stuff that's bothersome in the world. And those seem to be hitting harder than any other ghost drawings, which is pretty fascinating to watch. But I know that most of the comments and messages that I've gotten, or most of the messages that I've gotten, are positive. But some of y'all are deeply in the mindset that I should stick in the state, like stay in my lane, like stick to talking about voice acting, which is stupid. You know, I'm not a two-dimensional thing. I'm a human being. My socials are mine. This podcast is mine. So no, I will not keep my beautiful mouth shut. You know, there's that whole thing, like we can agree to disagree, but I find that most people using that these days are cowards. I find them to be cowards, like spineless asshats that talk a big game about sticking up for people, you know, and having their like Luke Skywalker fetish and their Katniss Everdeen, you know, fan clubs and all this stuff, but actually don't give a zero fuck about follow through and being like the fictional characters that you adore. Grow the fuck up and pay attention. So, no, we can't agree to disagree. Like, here are things we can disagree on. Whether an oatmeal cream pie should be considered cookies. They shouldn't be. Don't come for me. Sports. I like baseball. I like basketball. I'm really digging the WNBA. It's getting the recognition it deserves. I like soccer. I like hockey. I don't care for football. But I know what's going on most of the time during a game, so that's not nothing. We can disagree on whether Gaga should continue being cast solely on the fact that she's Gaga. I'm going to leave that there, but I think you can guess by the way I delivered that where I stand on the matter. Gaga. Honestly, the list, I could go on and on and on. And I will say that nowhere on the list of we can agree to disagree is human rights going to pop up. We cannot disagree to disagree on human fucking rights. Reminder, no one is illegal on stolen land. No one. Also, what was it? I love this chick on TikTok that, oh my God, I wish I had her username memorized. So you don't get to talk about what's illegal when you voted for a felon. And like people have made all these remixes. And, I played a couple for Steve and he's like, you can turn it off. I'm like, no. But I mean, getting all up in your feelings, like seriously, because I want like humans to be treated like humans is something I very much give zero fucks about. You know, like I said, I deleted and blocked the whole like protest all you want, nothing is going to change person. I don't care if I've lost you as a fan. You do not have my respect, so I don't give a fuck if I have yours. That's where I'm at. I don't think this should be a wild take. Why is it? I mean, seriously. You know, like, it's another saying we have is be on the right side of history, which I 100% agree with. I was talking to a friend about just a fraction of the shit going on. And we were doing a back and forth about, you know, how vocal we're allowed to be before it hurts us professionally. And just how fucked up that thinking process is. And I ended our back and forth with fuck being on the right side of history, be on the right side of now. And he's like, yeah, exactly. But also be on the right side of history. But I mean, if you can see what's happening in your current day to day and you're just like, get super fucked. Like, no, that's such complete shit. Like Steven and I were, I think we were going to pick up like a prescription or something. And we saw all these agents camped out at like a little like iced tea pop up. Like, what? My God. Okay. Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's just, you don't get to say you don't know, or down the line, you don't get to say that you didn't know. What you're saying with your snide little comments or your complete and utter silence, it's that you don't care. Why don't you care? Like, these numerous atrocities are live and streaming for the entire world to see. And down the line, when your kiddos or your nieces or nephews and or grandbabies, you know, are learning about this shit and ask what you were doing, you don't get to say anything other than you didn't fucking care, so you did nothing. And so now that we've covered that, you know, like, that's my little 2 cents. That's, pardon me, off mic-ness, getting too many stupid messages. But yeah, like, that's all I'll say again for now about that. And if I've lost you as a listener, as a fan, just like talking about this now, you are clearly new to this this world, because I've been pretty vocal about this for a while. And I just think if just today is when you wake up and decide to do something, even if it's just sharing a link, sharing a post, saying this is wrong, just a tiny little thing can go such a long way. If that feels like too much, I really want you to examine why. Why does it feel like too much for you? When people are dying, people are getting kidnapped off the streets, people are being tortured, why don't you care? That's all. Okay, so yeah, like, now that we've covered that, let's talk about some other stuff that's happened since the last time we chat that might be a bit more upbeat. I mean, we'll try. We'll definitely try. I will say the first topic, kind of like easing into it, because I'm looking at it right now as I talk, is there's all this survival gear in front of me, and it's not mine. I have been charging throughout like the past couple of weeks all these little walkie-talkies, power banks, radios, and everything for my father-in-law, Ed. Steven and I visit him a couple weeks ago, and we were just like, I don't know, we were talking about mermaids and shit like that. He's really into conspiracy theories and all this, but it got really quiet after I fixed his phone. Like, he had been talking about how he's like, yeah, I lost this app and da-da-da-da-da. So we went over and I'm like, let me see your phone. We're all on the same family plan. And I just love this. He's like, yeah, this app went away. I'm like, no, you added a new window here. And then as I'm going through his phone, I'm like, Ed, you don't need 60 solitaire apps. He's 61, I believe, or 91, 61. No, he 91. And it was just hilarious for him to just be like, I like solitaire. What? But I handed him his phone back and kind of talked about just, he's like, maybe I should get a new phone. He has an iPhone 6. And the way it's still limping along is amazing. But Steven and I have to tell him, like, hey, you can get a new phone, but we have to tell you it won't have a button. And he's like, oh, no. I need the button. So, yeah. We'll see if he has to get a new phone, what that process will be like. But yeah, like, as we're just kind of settling, talking about mermaids and shit after I fixed his phone, he's like, I have to show you guys something. And so he's like, goes into his room. He's like, it's not there. Then he goes into his hall closet. He's like, aha. He brings out this tall ass box. And in it is like all this survival gear stuff. And I'm like, Ed, what's all this? He's like, maybe I'm being paranoid, but I just want to be ready, And And then like going through the stuff, like, have you charged any of this stuff? He's like, well, I wanted you guys to see it first to tell me whether or not I'm crazy. I'm like, honestly, no, I don't know. I would rather look crazy in the long run than be underprepared. So I was like, do you want us to charge all this stuff? And then like looking through it, I'm like, Ed, what are you going to do with a drone? And he's, I don't know. But yeah, charged everything. We have a walkie-talkie that we're going to keep and all this stuff. I found it really adorable. But also, when you think about it and think about his experience as a veteran of this country and just all the bullshit he's dealt with in his almost 100 years of being alive, for him to be the level of paranoid and scared he is, it's not okay. But yeah, just telling him like, yeah, we're charging all this stuff. He's like, oh, great. And then knowing that the next time we see him, it's about explaining how to use all the stuff he bought. Yeah. But, also, yeah, like I mentioned the ghosts that I draw, if you're new. I've been drawing these ghosts that I've been sharing for a while, and I'm still drawing them, and it's been interesting how much they've changed over the time. So thank you for letting me share my little ghosties. I'm going to keep on doing that. But in addition to other hobbies, I have to blame my friend Erin for this new venture I'm hesitant to jump into, but I have bought stuff. Oh God, I'm going to feel so old admitting this, but I bought some stuff to crochet. Something I never thought I would do, but the way that Erin talks about it, what up, Erin? I'm going to talk directly to Erin. The way that you talk about it and the things that you shared with me made me want to take the jump. So there, blame Erin, everyone. But it was really interesting. She had been sharing with me these things called woobles, which if you crochet, you're like, oh God, you're either yay or, oh my God, you fell into like the thing. But woobles was created by this chick that used to work for Google. And amidst all the stress and stuff, she started learning how to knit. And the woobles are self-contained little crochet projects that are supposed to help you learn how to knit. You can download a QR code and kind of follow along. I haven't started it yet because one, I haven't really had time with a bunch of shit going on. But then also, I'm nervous as hell. But I have been trying to push myself into trying new things. Like I never thought I would be sharing like doodles with you guys the way that I do. But crocheting, we'll see. We will see how that goes. We'll see how it goes. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think of something random. Oh my God. I just remembered this. I got a really strange delivery. Bless the Ring camera. There's this dude, like an all black, like an oppressive amount of black for this weather. And this is coming from someone who's wearing all black right now. Walked up to my door and dropped off a bag and then just fucking bolted. No note, no nothing. No knock, which I appreciate because I have a big like fuck you sign on my things. Like don't do anything, just leave me alone. But Steven and I each saw it. I think he was working. He's like, what? Who was that? And I treated it like it was a fucking bomb. Like I didn't bring it into the house. I went through the like garage to go back to the front door to pick this up and then opened it outside or like in front of or in the garage with like the door open. And it was socks and skincare stuff that said like Steven and Terri Mo. And I'm like, that can't be art. We have a real estate agent named Mo. But Mo always like gives us stuff on official letterhead. And these socks are super random. Like each of them look like they belong to just like a pack. And the skincare is super random too. I honestly don't know what we did with them now that I'm thinking about it. I'm like, what what am I supposed to do with this? Yeah. If it hadn't had like a little like Stephen and Terry note, I would have been like, this was dropped off to the wrong person. What an odd combination. What an odd combination that was. I'm trying to think of other odd things. This happened to a friend of mine, but I think I'm actually more upset than she is. She'd done this series of videos with her daughter about, people that she used to find hot and that were like hot in the 90s. And one of the featured celebrities in this hot in the 90s thing found the video. And this has happened to her a couple of times. And I don't know why. Maybe this is just me because I'm like really like fired up about this. But said celebrity took my friend's content and shared it on all their socials and on TV. That's all I can say. With no consent from my friend and like no mention of her daughter at all. For me, I find it weird that you didn't get consent from the creator of the videos, but also that you didn't double check and like cover your ass because there's a child in the video. Like, I literally like keep sending her like conspiracy stuff. I'm like, da-da-da-da-da. I think a lot of people do this, and a lot of news organization people that I follow, like, that they're like, yeah, breaking news, da-da-da-da-da. But like, they're not the journalist that broke the story. They're just reading what a journalist did and not crediting the journalist. All this shit, so stupid. But, and celebrities do that too. But this one was weird. That was a weird feeling to me. That's all I'll say about that. And my friend's probably annoyed that I even said that. But that's weird, right? Yeah. As far as recording goes, we're still doing Shunji Family Children, which I never know what's going to hit with people, but I've been getting like artwork sent to me and stuff. I'm glad that you guys are enjoying it. It's a very pretty show. And so I'm happy to be a part of anything, really. I typically am in some shows from different genres, and sometimes they hit with a bigger audience than others do. I never know how it goes. Like, there are some shows that I've been a part of where I'm like, oh, this is going to be like huge. And then it's like, and we never talk about it again. Well, I do, because I'll talk about anything that I'm in. Even things where people are like, why the fuck did you do this show? I'm like, cause they paid me, damn it. And we've got I've got some other stuff cooking that I'm not allowed to talk about yet. And then potential new stuff that there's no way I could talk about because it's all potential. I think a lot of people need to remember that. Until the powers that be tell you to talk about it, keep your fucking mouth shut. And then just auditioning a bunch, which I'm so grateful for. Sometimes it's pretty dry. But yeah, I've been singing a lot for auditions and doing a lot of accents. And there's something where like, it reminded me of when people typically are like, oh, I can sound like, like da-da-da-da-da. Like, okay, well, we have da-da-da-da-da. What can you do? And it's that same thing where it's like, yeah, I can sound really, really young. I'm like, okay, I'm glad you can sound really, really young. But can you sound really, really young and fight in that voice? Fuck in that voice? Laugh in that voice? Cry in that voice? Die in that voice? When you can do all of that, then you can tell me you do that voice. But a good chunk of the time, it's like, well, no, I can sound like that. I'm like, hey, I'm all for it, but be careful. Be careful to not shoot yourself in the foot. And that's been a thing with accents where I'm learning about myself. There are accents that I can do. I can do a British character depending on like the age and da-da-da-da-da. But sometimes I'll be booked And they won't tell me until I'm there. Like, oh yeah, by the way, you're doing this Russian accent. Like, huh? But even like a British accent, it's like, okay, well, specifically, like, how British are we talking? Are they from a specific province or area where I need to really consider that? And then like, oh, and hey, on top of that, they've got to sing in that accent, or, there's going to be a lot, they're a really fast talker, da 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 da. If it's written for anime, sometimes you have to consider, like, I can do that accent. Maybe I can't do that accent for anime. It's a weird thing that I'm learning about myself with certain accents. And then singing on top of that, I think I've talked about before, where it's like, oh yeah, hey, just prepare a pop song. Like, prepare a pop song? I'm old. Like, what do you mean by pop? What you're thinking of pop might not be what I'm thinking of pop. And also, everything's so genre mixed now. Like, how do you determine what that sounds like? The music behind me is what's going to dictate whether or not it's pop. But anyways, yeah, still grateful for the auditions. And even when I know I'm going to fall flat on my face, I've been learning songs that I am not the biggest fan of and try to tackle still and be like, hey, I tried. Go me. I did get a message about this. Like talking about positive messages. It was so random and out of pocket. I don't know how this was a thing, but someone was like, why do you sound like Sandra Bullock? And my immediate thought out loud is, I sound like Sandra Bullock? Nobody's ever told me this before. And then they linked to a Reddit post, which bless Reddit. But I looked to see if someone commented, like someone was like, I'm watching, oh my God, I forget what the name of the show is. It's a show that oh my God, Alfia directed me in it. Alfia, oh my God, what was, she told, my character's name was Lucius. But she's like, yeah, in the Reddit post, it's like, I'm watching this and, is it just me? And nobody responded to them, but it did get a few likes. So I literally asked my girlfriend's group chat, like, do I? And immediately one of them was like, I need to hear clips. I don't think you sound like Sandra Bullock. So I sent them, and like a little bit here. And I asked Steven, played him the same clips, and he's like, I don't hear it at all. Like, but I'm going to take it as a compliment, I guess. Love Sandy Bullock in a lot of things. So on other things. Not something she won like an Oscar for that ended up being really weird. Not Sandy's fault at all. But yeah. Yeah. I've never gotten that comparison in my life. I don't know if I've ever really gotten a vocal comparison that isn't from people that, like I get Brina a lot. Trina sometimes, Leah sometimes. There's some newer actors that I can think of, but I can't remember their names. But yeah, never gotten Sandy Bullock before. But yeah. The big old thing that I really enjoyed is this month, in addition to celebrating our Obscure Chatter anniversary, is celebrating my wedding anniversary, which I tend to do a lot more stuff for our dating anniversary in October, but wedding is pretty fun too. I got married in, 2009 on June 11th. And I remember the justice of the peace was very sweet. He took out any mention of God, which I did not ask him to do. He just instinctively did, which I don't know what that says about us, but I don't care. I appreciated it. And his name was like Swearington, which I thought was like, it just seemed like such a fake name. But he wrote like, you got married on June 11th at 11:06 on one of his like business cards. And I have that somewhere, I think in my little keepsake tin. But yeah, been married for 16 years now. Been together almost 19. I'm like, right? Yeah, 19. And let me see, there was a strawberry moon, which happened while I was fast asleep. And the footage I saw didn't really see a big difference, but I think some people did, maybe just around the world. But a big thing that we did was to the Kimball Art Museum, which it had been a minute since the last time I went. And the permanent collection is free, which is really great. It's right by the Modern. So the Kimball is going to show you a bit older art. The Modern, more modern art. Weird. But the Kimball is split across two buildings. So the second building is typically where they do like big movies or big events, and their traveling shows, the exhibits that are there for a limited amount of time. The permanent collection is part of my favorite because there's this woman on TikTok and Instagram that she always just walks up to random people and it's like, if you could own any piece of art in the world, what would it be and why? And there's so many people that are like, oh man, it's a complicated question. Or, well, I could never afford that, and she's like, I'm just asking, if money weren't a thing, if, logistics and legal matters, everything, if none of that wasn't a thing, what would you want? And for me, it would be Michelangelo's The Torment of St. Anthony, which is the only Michelangelo in North or South America. And it's been with the Kimball for about 15 years. I saw it the last time I was there before this. It was my first time seeing it. And it was so new that it was so hard to see because there were such big crowds. Where this one, I guess, because, time has passed, like, oh, yeah, it's just a Michelangelo. Like, I don't know, This is supposedly his first painting, or his first known painting. And he did it when he was like 12 or 13. And if you look at it, look up The Torment of St. Anthony. I don't know what I was doing at 12 or 13, but it wasn't anything that I would want to hold up as a comparison to what Michelangelo was doing. I just like it. I would never commission like a tattoo of it, at least not in that context. Maybe I would do it like as in the Muppets or something. But yeah, I don't know. There's something about it that just speaks to me. So it was really nice to see it again. And I took a bunch of photos of it. And a few other things. But there was also the exhibit of the modern art and politics in Germany in 1910 to 1945. And it was just masterworks from Berlin. And there is something about the permanent collection versus the traveling exhibit. It's much quieter. Because, one, you have to pay. And two, it's just a somber thing. Seeing some of the artwork that, like, oh, hey, the artist was going through this. Or the depiction of this, like this piece of art was almost destroyed. There were some pieces that just got me. They got me fucked up. They really did. So, yeah, that was a fun thing. One thing... Not fun. Okay. Not fun, but I'm glad that we got to see these pieces. And who knows where it's traveling next, but I think by the time this episode airs, the exhibit is done. But another thing that the Kimball does, which I didn't know until like an influencer on TikTok, like it popped up on my feed. Or Stephen's feed, actually. And it's like, hey, we should do this. And we decided to do it for our anniversary. We did an afternoon tea service, which I know. I aged very much just admitting that to y'all. But it's something that you reserve days ahead, at least 24 hours ahead. And it only happens between like 2 and 4, well after their lunch service. And what we did is You go up, you pay, and then they give you a little number. You set up wherever you're going to set up. If you, granted, maybe it's different. I showed up early with Steven, obviously, and they're like, you're early. We typically, make people wait, but since you're here, if you want to go ahead and pay, it was just $35. And for $35, you got a 3-tiered tray of scones and brownies, cookies, fruit, and little tea sandwiches. I'm sure and then a big ass pot of a tea of your choice. And we did Earl Grey, these big, thick ass chunks of brown sugar. And we just sat near the window next to this beautiful painting and just kind of vibed. It was a little quieter. And as we're sipping along, I'm like, oh man, just a little Earl Grey, little sugar, little milk. I was looking around at the other people that were doing the service. I'm like, oh my God, we're so young compared to the other people doing the service. And Steven's like, we're not that young. Baby, we're old. And I told him to shut the fuck up. But that was a lot of fun. I'm glad that we did something. And for anniversary gifts, I got him a book by Serge Tankian, signed, and he got me exactly something that I've wanted for a very long time. And when I admit to you what it is, it's not something I think most partners are like, oh my God, I have to get them this. They're going to lose their mind. But when I tell you I lost my mind, it's stupid compared to when you think of oh yeah, for your anniversary, yeah, I got a ring upgrade or da 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 da. I didn't want any of that. I didn't want any of that. Do you know what I wanted? I actually didn't ask for anything. I just kind of living my life and someone being like, hey, thought of you, got this for you. I had mentioned it in passing a couple of times, and I had looked at versions of the gift for a while. And just went, maybe it's stupid. So we got a big package dropped off, and Steven's like, oh my God, I'm so glad that you didn't see it because it was going to spoil what your gift is. I'm like, I have no idea what it could be that it is in such a big box, but okay. And then we exchanged gifts, and he loved his gift, which made me happy. And then he brought his out, and it's just an Igloo cooler, a red and white Playmate 16 quart, I think, cooler. I've wanted one forever. I loved it. I literally set it up in a place that I pass all the time so I could just stare at it for a few days. My idea has been for a while is I want a cooler always in my car. So at a moment's notice, I could just fill up the cooler with some ice and just pack up some stuff and have a random day out. That's why I wanted it. And I just my anniversary is on the 11th. This is the 22nd. I just yesterday or the day before just put it in my car, and it's something I will rarely see, but I'm so happy I have it. It might be a random gift, but I love it. I love it. And it's just something that, I don't know, when your partner really gets you, if he had gotten me flowers or something else, I would have loved that too. But it's just you get me. I loved it. I loved it. Still love it. So yeah, take that, norms. Yeah. How was that? How was that for an anniversary? Trying to think of what else we did. I think we just did that and some sushi later. It was very, very chill. How was that for an anniversary episode? Because I just realized we've been chatting for a while. And I'm sure there are other things that I can talk about, but I think we've covered a fair amount, So I know I'd mentioned in previous episodes that I had been like playing with like doing something like special for our anniversary episode, but I don't know, just having the opportunity to talk to y'all at all with everything going on seems pretty fucking special. So thank you for listening. And thank you all for just continuing to listen to Obscure Chatter like over these last 6 years. It really does. It warms my heart when you guys like, what was it? I mentioned like the flame chain wallet that definitely broadcast to people that I wasn't 100% heterosexual in the last episode. I got 5 messages about that. I'm like, oh my God, I feel so seen. Like I love getting messages from y'all regarding things that are brought up because again, that makes me feel like I'm actually talking to you guys, even though in reality, I just have a bunch of sound equipment in my living room and I'm talking at my television as my husband and our dog are locked away in another room. There you go. But it really does warm my heart to keep getting responses from you guys, and I hope that continues. Remember that you can always be a part of a future episode by submitting questions and requests to obscurechatter@gmail.com. All submissions remain anonymous. They all do now. Happy anniversary. I forget what the 6-year mark anniversary is. I don't know. But I wouldn't have gotten you anything anyway. We're beyond gifts, I think. Just being in each other's lives is the gift. That's what me, your broke ass friend, is is trying to say. How dare you assume that I was going to get you a gift? But yeah. Oh my God. Again, I could keep going for a while. But thank you guys so much again. Until next time, I want you to read good shit. I want you to watch good shit. I want you to listen to some good shit. Don't be a shit. And call people on their shit. Even if the people that you're calling on is yourself. Call yourself on your own shit. Do it. I will talk to you guys again in July. Until then, happy anniversary, baby. Bye.